Before you brew Codie Vociferous Codex, make sure to watch this video to find out about different archetypes, how to build them, and what power levels and budgets they work in. Codie Vociferous Codex is 3 colorless mana for a 1/4 legendary artifact creature construct. You can't cast permanent spells. 4 tap, add WooBird. When you cast your next spell this turn, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile an instant or sorcery card with lesser mana value. Until end of turn, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put each other card exiled this way onto the bottom of your library in a random order. Codie is extremely powerful, but comes with a big downside, not being able to cast permanent. This greatly changes how we build it and what we can include. Many Codie decks will run no non-land permanents or just run a few cheap ones. Either way, it's a big impact. We can still run a few artifact ramp cards like Soul Ring, but most of your ramps should be instant or sorcery land ramp. Examples include Cultivate, Kodama's Reach, Rampant Growth, Farseek, and more. Our draw can just be done with spells. Things like Sign in Blood, Read the Bones, Harmonize, and Concentrate are good examples. Codie is extremely versatile with power level, archetype, and budget. So let's start looking at options for archetype. These include Storm, Control, Turbo Ad Nauseam, Extra Turns, and Secret Commander, which within itself has many options. Codie can make a max power Turbo Ad Nauseam deck. The main plan of this deck is to cast Codie, then cast a 1 CMC spell with the ability. You will flip for something 0 CMC, and if Profane Tutor is the only 0 CMC instant or sorcery, which it will be, you can cast it for free. You can use this to find Ad Nauseam, then cast Ad Nauseam and draw until you find the needed pieces. Use something to remove Codie so you can cast permanent spells, then either win with Authorical with Paint Attack or Demonic Consultation combo, or Lion's Eye Diamond, Underworld Breach, and Brain Freeze combo. I will link a video and deck list about it below. Codie can make an amazing commander for a Storm deck. Codie will help you get mana and flip so you can cast more cards. You can also run cheap untap cards like Cerulean Wisps and Burst of Strength to untap Codie and get another activate. Cards like Training Grounds will make our commander's ability cheaper so we gain more mana, and make our untap into rituals. You can also use more typical rituals like Seething Song, Mana Geyser, and Jessica's Will. Once you've cast a lot of cards, you can win with Storm cards like Mind's Desire and Temporal Fissure. You can build this as mid or high power, and it would greatly benefit from good cantrips, rituals, and more, which can get expensive. I think a high power deck would need to cost $350 US or more, and a mid power deck can cost $200 US or more. You can also build a Codie control deck. Mostly you will do counter spells, but other removal works as well. This way you can counter your opponent's stuff, get mana from Codie, and get more cards by flipping off the top of your library. You can run an assortment of expensive and cheap counter spells. Large ones are good to hold up Codie for, small ones are good for efficiency. You just need an appropriate balance. Cards like Desertion, Sublime Epiphany, Counterspell, and Negate are a good example. It's a control deck that uses value to get ahead. This will go into mid power and can stay under $200. Codie is an amazing commander for extra turns because if you use all your mana on your extra turn card, you will still get value from the Codie flip. Most extra turn cards are instants and sorceries, so the Codie restriction doesn't matter too much. You'll also need to run copy cards, recursion, ramp, draw, and some win cons to help support the deck. Just take turn after turn after turn until you win. This could go in mid power and greatly benefit from a high budget over $300. Codie makes it extremely easy to search your library with Profane Tutor, and this means it's the perfect commander for a build-around, preferably that's an instant or sorcery. You can use a permanent as a build-around, but you'll need to remove Codie if you want to cast it. Anyways, the idea is to build a deck around a specific card in the deck and search it out each game. The first example I'll give is Fractured Identity, which works especially well with Codie. Fractured Identity is 3 blue-white for sorcery. Exile target non-land permanent. Each player other than its controller creates a token that's a copy of it. If you target your Codie, your opponents will become unable to play permanent, which will shut off many decks, or at least slow them down. You can run this with other stacks, but there's the risk that you have Codie out and become unable to play your stacks cards. Or you can run it with control cards that are instants and sorcery. This way you can stop people removing their own Codie copies and keep everyone in check. This could go in high power with fast mana and would be expensive, over $300. Living End doesn't have Profane Tutor as a middleman, since it's 0 CMC. It will exile all creature cards from graveyards, sacrifice all creatures, then put all cards exiled this way onto the battlefield. This way you can mill yourself, then cast Living End to recur all your stuff back and win with it. The only issue issue with this plan is that if you draw your creatures, you can't cast them. So just include ways to remove Codie, and remove it when necessary. There's also a risk of milling Living End, so run Living Death and some tutors. This can go in mid power and cost below $150. You can also build around Thieves Auction as Chaos, Worm Harvest as self-mill, or Wheel of Fate for a wheel deck. Feel free to get creative though. If you've ever seen an instant or sorcery and wanted it to be your commander, then try Codie to lead the deck. You can also build a Codie Voltron deck, but due to the fact that Codie has to tap to use its ability, the abundant need of untapped cards makes it rather inefficient. Although instant and sorcery Voltron is quite fun. You can also build this around cycling so that you can run permanents and then cycle them away if you have Codie. Considering that almost all the benefit you get from cycling is from other permanents triggers when you cycle things, it just isn't worth it. Zirda can also be a great companion, and its requirements will fit in almost all Codie decks. The only issue is that it doesn't reduce Codie's cost. It does not work on mana abilities, and Codie's ability is a mana ability. So if it's free to put in as a companion, you might as well, but you're very rarely gonna get any use out of it. You can also do a little bit of top of library manipulation since you're flipping with Codie, and scry effects or tutors that go to the top of the library, like Mystical Tutor or Vampiric Tutor, are great to control what we will flip off the top. If I helped you make your own Codie list, please subscribe and leave a comment with your deck so that I and others building Codie can see it. You can also join my Discord server to share the list or just chat with others and play some games. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.